Yeah, the GOAT. Logo threes are back, y'all. Logo threes are back like they never left. Caitlin Clark doing it to him.
So here's what's slowly coming to light about what actually went on behind closed doors at USA basketball training camp, and it paints a much more revealing picture than the polished, carefully controlled official statements ever did. According to a reporter named Sabrina, who later shared detailed behind-the-scenes observations, Caitlin Clark didn't just show up, blend in, and quietly earn her place through the usual process. She didn't arrive trying to neatly fit into an established system or patiently wait her turn.
Caitlin Clark is on fire. Day 3 of Team USA camp. The girl couldn't miss. It was like throwing a rock in the ocean for Caitlin Clark.
Instead, the moment she stepped into the gym, she began altering the environment almost immediately. Not through volume, bravado, ego, or theatrics, but through impact. The kind of impact that subtly but decisively reshapes hierarchy, focus, and momentum without ever needing to announce itself.
When she was not playing with Aaliyah Boston, some of the bigs didn't know what to do with her passes. Like there was one time where she passed it to Hamby, and Hamby like brought the ball down. It's like, you can't do that. Like this is not, you have to keep it up, right?
Straight up, right.
And that's significant because this wasn't just any camp. This gym was filled with elite talent, players who've spent their entire lives performing under pressure. Olympic gold medalists, WNBA All-Stars, franchise centerpieces, athletes accustomed to being the focal point wherever they play. Yet according to Sabrina, that particular week became one of the most uncomfortable and tension-filled stretches many in the gym had ever experienced.
Having to see Caitlin like go at scouting players who were, instructed to play at a FIBA level of physicality was interesting considering how long she's been out and the fact that she's still ramping up injury-wise.
Not due to arguments or open conflict, and not because of dysfunction or chaos, but because the game itself began making decisions faster than people were prepared to accept.
She was just like so happy to be there and like was individually like telling media members how nice it was just to like talk to them again and like that she was just part of the basketball process.
Clark arrived without fanfare. No dramatic entrance, no cameras following her every move, no visible attempt to command attention or assert status. She simply showed up and got to work.
And just fun to like see the players in a live game situation again, because you think about like Caitlin hasn't played since July 15th,
Yes.
There are 4 sparks of this camp. Their season ended on September 11th, right? So it's been a long time since any of them have really played competitive basketball.
But within minutes of her stepping onto the floor, something shifted. The energy changed in a way that was impossible to miss if you were paying attention.
We also got a quote out of Sue Bird about her being impressed with Caitlin just being engaged while she was out and getting back to being able to play.
Conversations paused when she touched the ball. Drills felt sharper and more urgent. The established order, built over years of resumes, reputations, and expectations, began to wobble. This wasn't about dismissing what others had accomplished. It was about something far more unsettling, the realization that the game was organizing itself differently. Possessions flowed more cleanly through her reads. Spacing improved when she ran the offense. The tempo lifted when she controlled it. By the final day of camp, one player reportedly left early, not due to injury, not because of a roster cut, and not following any dramatic confrontation, but because it had become clear where the game was heading, and it wasn't flowing through them. That detail is what's now drawing real attention. This wasn't politics. It wasn't coach favoritism. It wasn't marketing pressure or media hype. It was basketball selecting its center of gravity in real time, something that can't be negotiated or smoothed over once it starts.
A little bit about what Caitlin looked like on the court, how much fun she was having, how important it was, and then someone else, Angel Reese on the other side, talking about Chicago. That was the article I was not expecting.
And that reframes the entire discussion. The question now isn't whether Caitlin Clark belonged at Team USA camp. That feels settled. Anyone who watched her control pace, command possessions, and elevate the collective level of play understands that.
Here's that Caitlin Clark is truly back healthy. The three-point shot is back. The logo threes are back. And what I really liked about that second one is that was going right.
The more uncomfortable question is this: was her dominance intimidating to those around her, or were they simply unprepared for what her everyday level actually looks like up close? There's a huge difference between knowing someone's reputation and experiencing their presence possession after possession. Between respecting highlights and defending reads that arrive half a second faster than expected. Between watching film and realizing how little margin for error exists when someone processes the game at that speed. For some players, that realization is energizing. For others, it's destabilizing. And that's what makes this moment so revealing. When the game itself decides who it wants to flow through, it's not personal, but there's also nowhere to hide. You either adjust, adapt, and find your place in that reality, or you're forced to confront that the hierarchy you were comfortable with no longer exists. What happened at that camp wasn't just about one player excelling, it was about a system being exposed in real time. Once that happens, everyone in the gym has to decide how they're going to respond. There's a clear difference between being aware of someone's reputation and experiencing their presence on every possession. Highlights show talent. Stats show production. Neither prepares you for the feeling of real-time reads, accelerated pace, and the sudden realization that the margin for error you relied on has vanished. To understand why this mattered so much, you have to understand what Team USA training camp is normally like. These camps are typically controlled, professional, almost routine. Everything is structured. Players rotate through drills, build chemistry, run systems, and prepare for international play in a predictable rhythm. Even with elite talent, there's usually an unspoken order: when to push, when to defer, and how the hierarchy generally works. That rhythm didn't survive Caitlin Clark's arrival, not because she intentionally disrupted it, and not because she tried to impose herself, but because everything on the floor began orbiting her decisions. Drills felt heavier, as if every rep suddenly carried more weight. Possessions became sharper and faster. Conversations stopped when she touched the ball, not out of obligation, but instinct. Coaches leaned forward without realizing it. Players focused more intently, not wanting to miss a read or cue. This wasn't manufactured hype or media buzz, it was gravitational pull, the kind only truly elite players create by playing the game correctly at full speed with zero wasted motion. Sabrina described it as Clark making the team in the purest sense, not by being written onto a roster, but by proving possession after possession that the game functioned better when it flowed through her. That's a difficult reality to face if you're used to being the one the game flows through. By the final day, that truth was unavoidable. Clark didn't coast. She didn't dial it back. She didn't blend in to make others comfortable. She dominated the sessions. And according to those accounts, someone in that gym couldn't handle watching the hierarchy change in real time. Paige Bueckers was there for all of it. And according to multiple observers, she recognized what was happening almost immediately. When Clark ran the offense, the pace lifted across the board. Spacing tightened naturally. The ball moved faster and cleaner, hitting players exactly where they needed it. Players who'd seemed disconnected earlier suddenly locked in, as if the game had clarified itself. Coaches stopped casually observing and started taking serious notes, adjusting details on the fly. This wasn't just a talented guard executing sets, it was someone operating at a different processing speed, seeing the game one pass ahead and acting without hesitation. Paige, as an elite competitor herself, understood that instantly. She didn't resist it. She didn't compete against it. She recognized it, adapted, and elevated alongside it. That's high-level basketball intelligence meeting another elite mind. Angel Reese, however, experienced something very different. For her, the shift wasn't energizing, it was disorienting. Not because she lacks talent or didn't deserve to be there, but because the game stopped centering on her strengths. The ball didn't find her the same way. The rhythm of possessions no longer bent toward her presence. The offense didn't slow to accommodate individual moments, it moved past them. Over the course of the week, that reality became harder to ignore. That contrast is what created the tension. Not loud or hostile, not dramatic, but quietly uncomfortable, the way truth often is. When the game chooses its focal point, everyone else must decide whether they're willing to adapt. Some grow. Others struggle with losing control. That dynamic, more than any drill or scrimmage, made this camp different from every one before it. At first, it wasn't anger, it was something more unsettling: irrelevance. Not because she couldn't play or didn't belong, but because the game stopped flowing through her. The ball didn't find her in the same spots. The offense didn't bend to her strengths. Possession after possession moved past her influence. In huddles, breakdowns, and side conversations between coaches, Clark became the center, not because she demanded it, but because her impact made it unavoidable. Angel noticed the shift. Her body language showed it. Frustration built as the days passed. She ran the same drills, played similar minutes, and had opportunities, but the game had chosen a different focal point. The tension peaked during a closed scrimmage. No cameras. No crowd. Just competition and pride. Clark ran point like a seasoned veteran. Paige spaced the floor perfectly. The ball moved with precision. The offense flowed effortlessly. Angel tried to assert herself physically, more contact, more emotion, but the game didn't slow down. It sped up. It got cleaner. Possession by possession, her influence faded, not because she was benched, but because the tempo erased her impact. That was the moment the hierarchy became undeniable. This was no longer an even competition, it was a system revealing who it functioned best through. Coaches noticed. Assistants whispered. Notes were taken. Angel saw it all in real time. And that's when it became clear, the game wasn't choosing her. Sabrina also highlighted something important about Clark's game. The step-back threes were there. The impossible passes were there. But what stood out most was precision. Clark doesn't just pass to open teammates, she delivers the ball to the exact spot where scoring becomes easiest, at the perfect moment. Some bigs weren't ready for that. One player brought the ball down instead of keeping it high, disrupting the play instantly. That's not a mistake made when you're prepared for elite facilitation. Clark demands readiness without ever saying a word. The camp also emphasized FIBA-level physicality, which is noticeably more intense than the WNBA. Scout players were told to play accordingly, and Clark didn't flinch. She absorbed contact, embraced the intensity, and maintained control. That alone answered any lingering questions about her toughness or adaptability. The final day of camp felt eerily quiet. Execution was sharp. Clark directed traffic like a seasoned floor general, calling adjustments and finishing plays with confidence. Angel barely touched the ball in meaningful possessions, not as punishment, but as consequence. When the final whistle sounded, everyone already knew the answer. Angel didn't wait for announcements. She didn't create a scene. She simply left, and the gym froze. Coaches exchanged looks. Players avoided eye contact. Everyone understood what had just happened. This wasn't personal drama or ego clashes. It was basketball revealing its truth in the most unforgiving way possible. When elite players share the floor, the game itself decides what works, what doesn't, and who everything should flow through. Reputation and past success can't override that process. Angel Reese has spoken openly about her dissatisfaction with her current WNBA situation and her desire for an environment where her strengths are fully utilized. That context matters, it helps explain why this camp felt different for her. Team USA wasn't just another competitive setting. It was a space where reality couldn't be avoided. And the reality was that the game's focal point wasn't negotiable. At camp, the offense didn't revolve around volume or visibility, it revolved around decision-making, timing, and control. The ball found Caitlin Clark because it made sense. The pace followed her because the game worked better when she dictated it. Coaches didn't force it. Teammates didn't vote on it. It happened naturally, possession by possession, as the clearest path to winning basketball. That's the hardest part to accept. Clark didn't demand the spotlight. She didn't ask for the offense to run through her. She earned it every session by making the right reads, delivering on time, and elevating everyone around her. The game chose her because it functioned better when it did. At that level, there are only two options: adapt to the system the game establishes, find new ways to impact within a different rhythm, or decide the environment isn't for you. There's no middle ground. You can't force the game to bend backward. Angel chose to walk away.